The big story last week was the Nigeria green bonds that the Environment Ministry is piloting alongside the Ministry of Finance and the Debt Management Office. And that massive event last week was all about two things. One, environment projects that the bonds will be used for. On the other hand, the energy, which is also a very big conversation for everyone. And the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Raji Fashola, was there, and he spoke about the energy mix of 30-70, 30% of clean energy, 70% dirty energy by the year 2030. That's what he says Nigeria will be able to achieve. So let's get the energy analyst to talk to us around this energy mix conversation. Dolapo Oni, who is the head of energy research at EcoBank Research, is joining us this morning at EcoBank Group, I beg your pardon. He's part of the research group anyway. Good morning, Dolapo.
Good morning, Bosin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining this conversation. So let's have this dirty energy versus clean energy conversation.
Yes.
What do you make of the energy mix 30-70?
I mean, it's a laudable objective. It's something we should definitely aim for. I'm sure there's a lot that we have to put in place to achieve that. I mean, all the way from market pricing to transmission, and then real issues around how to resolve issues around electricity theft and convenience of collection for distribution companies. There are so many other issues and so on, which if we resolve, I mean, it's a target we can confidently achieve. I mean, I've always said I don't have a problem. I don't believe Nigeria has a problem with generating energy. The problem is paying for it.
And Dolapo, if you look at the calendar in your office, the year 2030 sounds and look like eternity, but not really exactly. 2030 is just around the corner. We're talking about just about 12, 13 years from now. So do you think this is realizable? 30%?
Yeah, I mean, going by Nigerian standards, you typically say no, but again, it's always important that you set this sort of objectives or targets so that you can motivate yourself to actually try and achieve them. I think we need to diversify our energy mix quite all right. At the moment, it's very narrow. It's between gas, roughly about 84%, and then hydro, which is really only about 16% thereabout. Because if you really go into the numbers, installed capacity is about 12,500 megawatts. We have about 1,900 in hydro, and then another, the balance of that basically in gas-fired capacity, which exists at the moment, but most of that capacity is not available. So if you are trying to switch that from to 70-30, really, I'm not quite sure how that works. But really, what you're saying, because gas for me it's not dirty energy, and it's already 84%. Except you're saying you want to introduce more a different type of renewable energy into it.
Dolapo, 30%. If we're on 30% clean energy, I know gas is part of it, and we have that in abundance. But we talk about renewables anywhere in the world. Yes, gas is in the basket, but again, you're talking about the real renewables, as it were, which is wind energy, for example, what you call whatever. Yes, wind, solar, and all of that. So 30% looks really a very high ambition, considering where we are at the moment, what we've been able to put on the ground, and the roads we need to travel.
You see, and that's where the bond is very important, because one of the reasons why those sort of technologies haven't really taken root in our power mix is really because the economics behind them are not quite favorable to the current in the current market. For one, you can't even bring them on grid at the current tariffs we have. Furthermore, again, you also have to put certain infrastructure in place to ensure that you can actually, evacuate the power from these people. And again, because of the kind of demand we have at the moment, we've not really met the baseline demand for Nigeria. Depending on who you are listening to, the energy demand in Nigeria is somewhere between 15,000, about 16,000 megawatts to roughly about 31,000 megawatts. Now, so where we are currently with installed capacity of about 12,000 megawatts and only actual generation of about 4,000 thereabout megawatts, when we're so far away. So, and you would imagine that we should be able to pump this up with some renewables, but we can't get them on grid because number one, it's more expensive. Number two, we still need to do a lot with transmission to ensure that we can actually evacuate this power when we actually generate it. So again, moving from now to 2030, where we actually want to make those forms of energy 30% of our grid generation, means that a lot has to change between now and then. And I think that's what's really key.
Dolapo, one of the things, or we're in some form of energy we're yet pursuing is coal. And that is one form of dirty energy. And we want to add that to the fossil fuel we already have. Again, you need something like coal energy to drive mining resources, solid minerals. I'm not sure you can use solar to power going hundreds of meters underground to dig for gold and other precious stones. Can you?
No, you really can't. If you look at most of the industrialized countries around the world, they still thrive on a lot of coal energy. US still has roughly about 50% of its energy demand sorted by coal. For China, we know it's all well over 60%. And for India, it's still roughly around 20, 30 or so percent as well. So coal is still a very important form of energy. And more importantly, it gives us a bit of diversity so that when we have issues with gas supply or we have drop in rainfall, we don't suffer a major drop in power supply. So we need to have that diversity. We need to have gas, have some renewable, have some coal, have some hydro, and then possibly at some point consider other forms of energy as well, wind, nuclear, and so on. But more importantly, coal is important because most industrialized countries use it to drive issues like mining, factories, heavy-duty industries that require a lot of burning of energy. So, and it's something we need to look at. We're looking at developing some. I believe we've licensed over 4,500 megawatts, but none of that construction has happened yet.
Do you think we should go ahead with nuclear energy?
Maybe not at this point. And at some point we have to, and we will. I think there are plans in for it. But I think, again, like what I keep saying, a lot of things have to change for us to be able to accommodate that sort of technology. The proper maintenance culture. We probably also have to get the technology and service providers operating and maintaining the project as well. But again, all that will take some time because we'll still require various levels of approval from the International Atomic Energy Agency before we get to that stage.
A final one, Dolapo. How do you think, with the issues we currently have with the electricity transition market, how do you think we will get the solar energy on board and without running into some similar industry market issues that we currently have with the electricity transition market?
Okay, just an update. We've already signed PPAs, power purchase agreements, with several solar companies. I believe about 12 or so to deliver about 1,200 megawatts of solar power into the grid within the next 18 months to 2 years. And that development is going on mostly in the northern part of the country, some of it in the middle belt, but mostly in the northern part of the country. Now, but again, what made that possible was because we signed it at a significantly higher tariff than we currently have for on-grid conventional gas or hydro power plants, roughly about 11 cents, which translates, depending on whatever rate you're looking at, 315, it translates to about 44 naira per kilowatt hour, which is what you know.
Dolapo, you're looking for trouble. We're looking for trouble with 300 and something naira. If you're going to throw that to Nigerians, I'm sure you know what's going to follow you.
Definitely. So, definitely. So that's what I'm saying. So we probably need to start with getting them as an off-grid solution so that they can actually sell directly to the customers who are willing to pay for it at whatever price it needs to be fully delivered, because you may not be able to deliver those projects at less than maybe 45, probably about 55 naira per kilowatt hour, in my view. So that's probably where it needs to grow from. And then gradually, when we have the grid tariff structure in such a way that you can accommodate those sort of prices, then we can actually get more of them on grid. But at the moment, I think what we've done is good enough, and it will grow from there.
Yes, I remember the Power and Works and Housing Minister saying we need to get into energy conservation, turn off the lights when you're not at home and in the night when you're going to bed. There's no need, don't leave the lights in the toilets and in the living room on or in the kitchen. If you're not using it, just switch them off. I'm beginning to learn that myself. Because if you're going to sell solar for me at that level, hold on a second, I've got to just switch off most of the lights in the house.
But in my view, we're not even there yet, because see, energy conservation tends to come when you now have a lot more renewable energy on your grid. So because you don't want people to be wasting energy, you need to conserve a lot more energy. And then more importantly, it also comes when energy prices become so high that people you don't even need to tell people. They switch them off because they don't want to pay for power that they are not using. So we have not even met our base load demand yet, and that's why I was giving the statistics around between 16,000 megawatts to 31,000 megawatts, where the gap is, where demand is right now, and where actual generation is still around 4,000 megawatts. So we've not met base load generation requirements yet. So energy conservation really, in my books, doesn't come to play yet, but it's important. It's a culture that we must develop. We need to start training our people to switch off lights, switch off things that they are not using, so that we have less pull on the grid. Because we know the grid still has to undergo a lot of upgrading.
Dolapo, thank you very much for this conversation. We appreciate that from EcoBank Group. We'll be back after the break and we'll talk about the FX Rapid Fire.